Hi, Mike and Adriel. This is Scott from Dallas, and I was calling. I've wondered about for a long time in Genesis 44, where Joseph tells his servant to put the cup in Benjamin's sack, and then the servant accuses and talks about how um, Joseph uses the cup for divination. What's the meaning or context, and how should we look at Joseph in that light, given what Scripture says about divination elsewhere? Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Scott. It's an interesting passage. In fact, in the previous chapter, Joseph disclaims divination, and he says that he only knows the future insofar as God reveals it to him. So divination was a pagan practice of, like reading the entrails in Athens. They would try to read the entrails of an animal or the flight of birds and determine, whether they should go to war or what's going to happen next winter and so forth. Joseph says, no, all that's pagan. I don't. In the previous chapter, he says, I'm not a part of that. Now here, it's different. Joseph has set up what I call a play within a play. In Hamlet, where you have the actors performing a play that Hamlet writes in order to pierce the conscience of his uncle and his mother. His uncle has killed his father, the king of Denmark, to become king and take his wife. And nobody knows all of this. They think that the king just died, but he was poisoned. So Hamlet brings in these actors to perform a play that he wrote in order to basically tell everybody there what really happened, but to do it in a subtle way where the king knows and Hamlet's mother knows what he's doing and that he's pricking their conscience. That's very similar to what's happening here. Joseph tells his steward to plant these various cups in the sacks of his brothers as they return to Canaan, as if they had repaid his kindness by stealing the palace silver. Worst of all, he plants his favorite cup, the one he says he practices divination, magic, with, but it's all a ruse to see if the brothers are truly repentant. Would they return to their old ways, and just as they gave Joseph up for dead? I mean, that was a capital crime, throwing him in a ditch, hoping he would die. Would they do the same thing with their youngest brother, Jacob's delight, little Benjamin? And would they do that to save their own skin? And so it's a test. But they returned to the city with Benjamin to face their fate, and Joseph warmly embraced Benjamin and the whole family. He got his whole family back. If it had gone badly, Joseph was ready to arrest Benjamin in order to save him and keep him in his company. But in fact, it went well. Joseph clearly sinned by pretending to be a magician. But it was a facade he thought was necessary in order to pull off this test. It all worked out. God, all things work together for good. It worked out, but Joseph should not have pretended that he was engaged in divination.